So welcome and thank you for being here. It is great to see all of us in one place at one time as opposed to virtually. I know we have a few folks that are attending this virtually. So we thank you all for being here, even though we're wearing masks, but it is a step in the right direction, and I'm grateful and thankful that we are here today. Now, today's a bit of a bittersweet day for us educators. We're retiring some wonderful staff members and some colleagues, and had the pleasure of working with Linda and Sandy the past year closely, and it is a great accomplishment. But before we get into our agenda, the bitter part of today is I would ask for you to stand and give a moment of silence for Uvalde, Texas, and the shooting that occurred yesterday. So can we just please stand for a second? Thank you. So I promise not to be long at all, because we have a long list of our principles, and even though we've tried and talked Betsy and Brian down from 3 pages to 1 or 2, so I won't take up much time because I promise you they will. So, and before we get into the meat of our agenda, I just wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday's tragic event, and it was a tough message for me to send out to our community, considering that obviously we are all educators, and each day we come to work, and the first thing on our minds is to make sure that all of our students are safe. And I've been saying this since my first day in education as an administrator, that no matter what the circumstance is in our schools, at any of our schools, you, the teacher, always make the right decision. I'm confident that that's the case all the time. It is very sad for young people to say bye to their parents and don't go home the next day. But I think we could be better, better from that. I still believe in the bottom of my heart that teaching is the best profession in the world, regardless of some of the issues that happens across our country. I am saddened by it, and I'm sure you are too. I believe when it's time to retire from whatever profession that you're in, particularly the best one in the world as a teacher, as a professional, it's an accomplishment, indeed. You all will be missed. You have dedicated your career to this amazing school system, and for that I'm very grateful. Wish I had more time working with you, Linda and Sandy, for sure. We had some good times, and we'll continue to have some good times in central office. Sandy loves us so much that she's back working 3 days a week for us. and we are very, very, very thankful, Linda and Sandy. Linda, I'm going to miss you. You've been such a great support for me in my first year, going to you, knowing all the contracts and HR stuff that you have at your fingertips. We are going to miss you, and you'll be very, very hard to replace as well as you, Sandy. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for being who you are. Yes, So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce our school committee chair to say a few words, Mr. Chris Ryan.
Good afternoon, Chris Ryan, and I'm happy to be here to represent the school committee. Dr. Easy didn't ask for a draft of my remarks, and it's actually like 7 pages, so you guys, hopefully you can bear with me. So when I received the program via email, I was really astounded by the many milestones, the achievements, the retirements, and everything that we'll be celebrating today. I was particularly caught by the section that said 30 years of teaching. And when I saw that, I thought, whoa, 30 years, that's amazing. I think we all have a tendency to sort of bring our work self home sometimes to our families. And I wondered what, after 30 years of teaching, you bring home. And I thought about, the to-do list that your spouse leaves you on the counter. Do you correct that when you've been teaching for 30 years? And do you say nice writing? You have quite an imagination. I like your use of the word we, but I'm sure there's also a lot of really amazing things that happen during those 30 years. And today, even though we have all these amazing achievements and milestones and retirements, we are recognizing all the staff, all the educators. The tragedy in Texas, there are no words to describe how any of us would feel as educators and parents and community members. And as I watched it unfold, and as I felt very, very sad about it, and thought at first about how that would feel as a parent to be in that situation. I also thought about, over the years, all of the things that have been piled onto our educators. Our educators are the protectors of our children. We've been practicing Alice drills and other types of school violence scenarios for years. COVID has hit us with other amazing pressures. There's the academic pressures, the changes in curriculum, what we are expecting from our students, SEL needs, racism, equity, and the list goes on and on. And the list builds every year and has been building significantly for the past 10 to 20 years. With all the pressures that exist, when I'm in the schools in Wayland, I see educators who are smiling, encouraging, and supporting their students. Those interactions impact our students for years. I thank you for everything you do, and I thank you for being great at what you do. So on behalf of the school committee, it's a very big thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful summer. Thanks.
All right. So now to the fun stuff. Dr. Graham, we'll turn over. Dr. Graham is going to MC us all the way through the finish line here. And so we can get ready to strap in for these wonderful speeches recognizing our retirees. Thank you.
I would like to also add my welcome to Dr. Easy and Chris Ryan's. 2019 was the last time we were all able to gather together for this ceremony. And while it's not a complete return to normalcy, it is a joy for me that we are able to recognize our retirees this year with most of our staff present. We do have some important people who are participating remotely, and I want to also welcome them. But being able to gather here today for a mostly in-person ceremony is something that I find profoundly important. At this time, we will begin honoring our retirees. I will be asking members of our administrative team to come to the podium to say a few words about each retiree. Retirees, you don't need to come up on stage and stand awkwardly while your speech is read. Please feel free to remain in your seat until the conclusion of your remarks, and then we will ask you to join us here on stage to be formally recognized and to be presented with a gift. We have several retirees who specifically asked that we not honor them with speeches today, but I still think it's important that we recognize them. I would appreciate it if you could please join me in a round of applause as I recognize each of these retirees individually. Congratulations to Marie Pesaturo on her retirement. Congratulations to Sandy Natoli on her retirement. And congratulations to Steve Farina on his retirement. We will now be recognizing our remaining retirees, and I will begin by speaking about Linda Lavender. Where is Linda? There she is. To be honest, this is a speech I hoped I would never have to give. And that's true for a variety of reasons, some of them quite selfish. Anytime someone asks me an HR question, my most common answer is, here's what I think, but let me just double check with Linda. So selfishly, I'm not going to be able to walk down the hall and double check with Linda anymore. I promise I'll still make sure I get the right HR answer to you. But Linda might get tired of me calling her constantly in her retirement. I also hoped I would never have to give this speech because Linda is just awesome. And I'm really going to miss her. I'm going to miss our Monday meetings, the way we could talk through and solve any problem together, her stories about her pets, her creativity, her sense of humor, the basic human decency that she brought to any interaction, and the way she somehow, as HR manager, is the most popular person in the district. And for those of you who've never worked in another district, that's not the way it usually works. The HR manager is supposed to be the curmudgeonly naysayer, the one who says, you can't do that, but here are 15 forms you need to fill out anyway. Instead, Linda makes everyone else's job easier, even when that frequently makes her job harder. I asked the principals what they had to say about Linda. They said that she's a gem, that she always goes above and beyond. They talked about how she's always available, day and night, and how they appreciate her creative problem solving with staffing puzzles, HR quandaries, and hiring dilemmas. They still can't believe how she remembers everyone's name, both current and former employees. They love that no matter how many times you call her and ask her the smallest question, one that you should probably have the answer to, or even one that she's answered many times before, she always gives you a patient explanation of the answer and then makes you feel like you are so smart for even asking. Finally, I hoped I would never have to give this speech because Linda means so much to this district and has done so much for this district. More than just about anyone else, Linda is someone who's been able to touch each of our work lives. For many of us, she's the first person we met after we became an employee, and that first meeting always set a positive tone for what it means to work here. When Linda Lavender is the first person you meet, you say to yourself, man, this has got to be a great place to work. So for many, many reasons, I hoped I would never have to give this speech. But here we are. Linda, there are no words to express how much I respect you, how much I've enjoyed working with you, and how much I'm going to miss you. Best of luck in your retirement, and please, please, don't change your cell phone number because I'm going to call you. Linda Lavender, everyone. At this time, I would like to invite Pat Keefe to the podium.
Good afternoon. There's a phrase on the plaque, there's a plaque on Kathy Hodges' desk that reads, "She leaves a little sparkle wherever she goes." If you know Kathy, you know this is true. 30 years ago, Kathy had been laid off from Raytheon, and her young daughter was attending the Wayland Children's Center, which is now the Children's Way. The WCC director, Debbie Burse, saw the sparkle and approached her with, "Hey, aren't you in accounting? And can you help us with our records?" Kathy said sure, and after 30 years, it seemed like a pretty good decision. Kathy's sparkle livened up all of her accounting responsibilities, imagine that, including those associated with red tape and delinquent payments. But luckily, her WSEP work was not just about numbers. She also brightened the experiences of 2 generations of base staff and children. For 18 years, she led gym and craft activities at the Happy Hollow Before Base program, and for 12 of those years, she helped children feel loved and safe in the Loker Kindergarten Extended Day program. Kathy's sparkle was left on every base craft, every student, every family, and every staff member. Surprisingly, Kathy's fondest memories are not about accounting. They are about kids and families, about running bake sales and craft shows, mini golf, softball games in the early 2000s to raise funds for the renovation of the space where the TCW now is, creating unique crafts and activities out of this, that, and the other thing, getting to know each base child and watching them in community activities outside of base, and remaining friends with many of the base families that she has met along the way. Gradually, Kathy shortened her hours at WSCP, but always had craft ideas ready, just in case she was needed to sub at base. In 2017, Kathy moved to Wells, Maine, giving her much more quality time with her Prius, but less time for base. When she began working remotely in 2020, she continued to be the friendly voice of accounts receivable, but donated many of her craft materials for the use at the base sites. Just another way to spread her sparkle. Her commitment to WSEP was second to none, but Kathy also left her sparkle in Wayland. She was a Wayland Girl Scout leader for 20 years. She organized service projects for teens at Good Shepherd Parish for 15 years. She was a cantor and singer at the Good Shepherd Parish Choir for 34 years, and she lent her gift-wrapping, sales shopping expertise to the annual Wayland Holiday Shop for 16 years. Kathy's always the first one in line when holiday merchandise goes to 90% off. Kathy certainly has earned her retirement. It will be spent playing with her 1-year-old twin grandchildren, keeping in touch with her Wayland friends, singing, baking cookies, exploring Maine, and traveling to parts both known and unknown with her husband Steve. However, her sparkle will remain at WSCP and in Wayland forever. Thank you for 30 sparkling years.
I would now like to invite Dr. Allison Mizuguchi to the podium.
Good afternoon. Allah. Imagine you are sitting in this audience without the ability to understand or speak English. You can hear that a language is being spoken, but as you look around, you realize that you are the only one who doesn't comprehend. Imagine the isolation, the frustration, the shame. And then imagine that you find a home, a beautiful classroom at Wayland High School where Alla Schmidt is your English learner teacher, and a door literally and figuratively opens for you. In this classroom, you are not alone. You are not incapable. You are valued and seen and motivated to learn English because Ms. Schmidt cares about you and wants to hear the amazing thoughts and experiences inside of your head. When I think about Alla Schmidt's magical work as an English learner teacher at Wayland High School for the last 9 years, I can't help but wonder what would happen if somehow every immigrant to this country had the chance to learn from her. What if my own grandfather, who came to the United States from Japan when he was 13 years old, walked into Alla's classroom instead of the kindergarten classroom he was put in because he didn't know English? It would have changed everything. For indeed, Alla has changed everything for the English learner students who have been lucky enough to be in her care. Her work with them truly alters the course of their lives. Thanks to Alla's creative curriculum, her close collaboration with content area teachers, and her tireless work ethic, the students who know little to no English on their first day at Wayland High School are soon reading magical realism and writing their own poetry. They soon have the keys to unlock all of the content areas and are able to learn chemistry and history and math. Students who speak no English when they first enter her classroom graduate as scholars. For Alla, her work begins and ends with empathy. She told me recently, being an EL teacher is something different. You have to live through their trauma. You have to experience it with them. Otherwise, you won't reach them. In fact, Alla's own life could be the story of many of her students. She grew up in St. Petersburg and came to the United States as a Jewish refugee in 1989, knowing almost no English. She, her husband, and her daughter lived without much money or food in Detroit, where she was first hired as a Russian language tutor in a public school. She remembers going to the grocery store and not understanding the cashier when he said, "Have a nice day." She remembers taking English classes and seeking new vocabulary words in the New Yorker magazine. Alla's own struggles and her own educational journey are the foundation for her impactful work with her own students. Those who know Alla know that she radiates kindness and warmth. I believe it is the secret ingredient in her work that she never stops giving. Because they feel truly loved when they work with her, her students not only learn English, but also gain the confidence, skills, and sense of identity they need for the rest of their lives. Alla, you have been such a treasure to your students and colleagues at Wayland High School. We have all learned so much from you as an English learner teacher and as an empathic adult working with some of the most vulnerable and promising students in our community. I wish you every joy as you transition into your next journey with your family and your future students. Congratulations. Anne. The counseling office at Wayland High School is a bustling, warm space full of conversation and connection and light. Students sit and chat around tables, sometimes playing a game, while they await time with their counselor. Ricky, the therapy dog, stretches out on the carpet with a student or adult in need of some love. Students and families come to process sadness and trauma or talk through their fears and hopes about the future. This is a place where all of life's highs and lows commingle. And in the midst of this, Anne Frotto is like mission control, ensuring safety and order with a demeanor that radiates calm and efficiency. When I asked Mary Beth Sacramone, our director of counseling, to describe Anne's job, After pondering for a few long seconds, she said, all-encompassing. Indeed, I struggle to put into words what exactly it means to be the administrative assistant for the counseling department at Wayland High School. Put simply, Anne is the backbone to every process we have that supports our students' high school journey, especially when it comes to their well-being and future planning. She registers new students, organizes department communication, schedules college reps, manages reams of official documents, coordinates award ceremonies, and tends to all of the operational details behind a very busy and critically necessary counseling department. Impressively, Anne manages all of these tasks without revealing for a moment how many hundreds of balls she has in the air. She moves so fast that you almost can't see her. Anne also tightly supports the 8 counselors within the department, making it possible for them to connect with students as often as possible. I think each of our counselors would say that Anne is their bedrock, not to mention a tremendous call screener, appointment scheduler, problem solver, and triage specialist. Most importantly, Anne never forgets that she is likely the first staff person a distraught student or family member will talk to in a time of need. She greets every student with a perfectly balanced kindness that communicates to them, "We care about you here, and we will help you get exactly what you need." In her role, she sees firsthand and supports wholeheartedly the growth and maturity that our students experience during their 4 years with us. She sees their friendships develop over the years, the power and the support and empathy that they give each other in the counseling office, and the beauty of connection. In her well-deserved retirement, Anne plans to sleep in, try her hand at gardening, and enjoy the feeling of not having to work, which is something she has never had. Anne, you have served our students and families with loyalty and dedication. You have represented the department with care, compassion, and professionalism. We are so grateful. Thank you for your many contributions during the past 15 years, and congratulations on your successful career. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Mrs. Betsy Gavin to the podium.
Hello, everybody. There's Lori. When I think about Lori DeGisi, I conjure up an omniscient author, with great outfits, of course, an author who has the gift of manipulating time. This superpower has enabled Lori to fit more into a career than those of us bound by the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week temporal construct of mere mortals. In the novel of Lori's life, she has taught elementary, middle, high school, and college-level students during her career. Lori served as a literacy specialist, English department head, curriculum director, and STEM director for the Framingham Public Schools. Dr. DeGisi has also been a researcher at EDC, worked at the Mass Department of Education, and served on the International Literacy Education Board of Directors, where she once flew to Alaska for a weekend to give a talk on project-based learning and literacy. Phew. Lori must be operating on a 28-hour day. No one can do all that in 24. Lucky for us, Lori moved on from Framingham in 2017 when Stacy Reed told her about what she now describes as her favorite job in the world, literacy specialist at Wayland Middle School. Lori talks about our span of middle school students, saying, "I love how they come to 6th grade open and eager and leave 8th grade ready to take on the world." Lori is deeply satisfied when she finds just the right book for a student in her care, or even for one she doesn't teach, but who just likes her vast library. Lori knows her readers and what offerings might help them find joy, wanting to rush back for more. In her classroom, Lori's a tenacious teacher, encouraging students who often struggle with literacy to find their own voice and sense of agency. She helps them identify strengths and set ambitious reading and writing goals for themselves. Lori loves seeing students step out of their comfort zones and take risks, such as teaching one another, presenting an original idea, or recommending a book that they enjoyed to a classmate. For someone who gets twice the time out of her own minutes, Lori also knows the power of slowing time down to help her students linger with ideas. Lori offers essential wait time for students to process and synthesize thoughtfully. She also engages students in daily mindful meditation, helping them calm their minds and ground themselves in the present. Beyond teaching literacy, Lori embraces the full scope of work at WMS, helping her 6th grade homerooms, the fish, the dogs, and of course the sloths, gel into cohesive, caring communities have been highlights for her WMS tenure. Lori's also been a champion of interdisciplinary project-based learning, partnering with the 6th grade team to develop tiny houses. Finally, her trips to Cape Cod with Stacy, to DC with Hip and Natalia and Janae were also key plot points in her storyline. It comes as no surprise that our omnipotent author, Lori DeGisi, has exceeded the bounds of the school day to take on both Young Authors Club and the Newspaper Club with her esteemed co-author, Luann Duesterberg. Lori's found it satisfying to find creative ways to foster students' love of writing and watch young writers share their stories. Through the Orange and Black Newspaper Club, Lori's guided ambitious young journalists to produce quality articles for their peers in each monthly edition. Forget 28 hours in a day, Lori must operate with 32. As we prepare to say farewell to one of the WMS greats, Lori offers us some wise words that have guided her own practice. Stay optimistic. You are making a difference in young lives, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Keep trying new strategies, lessons, and technologies because our students keep changing and we need to change with them. Trust your instincts. If you think someone needs an extra minute with you, they probably do. Our beloved colleague Lori has big travel plans with her family for her next chapter. This will enable her to pen new settings for adventures yet to come. Who knows, maybe in retirement she'll magic up 48 hours for each of her very full days. Best wishes, Lori. Where's Chris? Oh, right in front of me. Over the years, I've had the privilege of writing many tributes for Wayland retirees. It is rare, however, to honor an amazing colleague who is the true Wayland lifer. Yes, Chris DeBona has the unique perspective of 1, having attended the Wayland schools where she met her loving husband David, 2, parenting her wonderful sons Michael and Alex through our system, and 3, working at Wayland Middle School as our receptionist and attendance administrative assistant for the past 12 years. Few people know us better, or share Chris's devotion to the community. Chris is authentically orange and black, through and through. Don't believe me? Check out the wall behind her front desk, which she had painted Wayland orange and inscribed with a giant black W. Chris DeBona was my favorite kind of hire, highly overqualified, with a work ethic second to none. Chris joined our team 12 years ago with a BA in English from Tufts University and 12 years under her belt working for State Street Development. As Chris joined the WMS family, being a fellow parent who lived in the community gave her a leg up on learning names and forging relationships with families and students. Chris knows the power of first impressions and has worked to be a soft spot for anxious students and worried families to land, helping them navigate early dismissals, lost items, and the potential upset of being sent to the principal's office. As a true Wayland warrior, however, Chris is not just a softie. She knows how to dish out tough love and often helps students navigate their day without calling home for a bailout of a forgotten item. She cajoles students into packing their bags the night before so as not to forget that lunch, those soccer cleats, or Chromebook on a subsequent day. Chris is victorious when students leave the office happily armed with a plan and boosted resiliency. Ms. DeBona's meticulous attention to detail is another factor that makes her invaluable. She knows the importance of accounting for every child every day and has been known to call homeroom teachers and first classrooms to ensure students made their way to school. When it comes to details, no one can organize a supply closet better than Chris. Pens, Post-its, and construction paper have their homes neatly aligned and intuitively arranged. Her aesthetic eye for detail has made her an ideal person to run the yearbook club and ensure that 180 days worth of WMS memories are neatly packaged and preserved for future reminiscing. While she thrives in the front office, her favorite times are the stolen moments where she witnesses students doing what they do best. Walking in on an orchestra practice, delivering a pass to a language class that's singing a song in Spanish, or watching a tag activity with students fully engaged in teamwork reminds her of why we all do what we do every day. I appreciate Chris's leadership as she's anchored the front office through changes to the team. She patiently helps train new members, and her sense of humor ensures that we find laughter even as we work hard to serve Wayland well. Colleagues describe Chris as the Mary Poppins of the office, except her umbrella is orange and black. You need a Tide stick? She's got it. You need a toothbrush and toothpaste before a root canal? She's got it. And everyone truly appreciates her RICO knowledge. Perhaps a leisure job of fixing copiers after retirement will keep her busy. It's hard to believe that a lifetime in Wayland and in our schools that Chris is now preparing to whittle down 30-plus years of accumulated belongings to put her Wayland home on the market. As she relocates to the Cape full-time, she looks forward to cooking, gardening, refinishing furniture, and searching for treasures in thrift shops. While that is her plan, I predict her first order of business will be painting her Cape house orange and black. You can take Chris out of Wayland, but you can't take Wayland out of Chris. Thank you, Ms. DeBona.
And now, Dr. Tricia O'Reilly.
Right in front of me, there you are, Leslie. Good afternoon. I would like to first offer a warm welcome to Leslie's family members who are here with us today. Her sister Doreen, her children Zachary and Juliet, and her husband Mo. And a special shout out to Leslie's son Lucas, who lives in Austin, Texas, and is hopefully joining us through the magic of Waycam. It is my absolute honor to recognize the professional accomplishments of this amazing educator. Leslie Bastarash is skilled, gentle, hardworking, and supportive. She is, as one teacher described, just one of those great people. It was Principal Sue Abrams at Loker School who hired Leslie Bastarash as a teacher assistant in 2006. Leslie was a stay-at-home mom until then, raising her 3 children, who would all eventually graduate from Wayland High School by way of Claypit Hill and the middle school. Since Leslie's husband, Mo, traveled every week for work, Leslie was looking for a job that would allow her to get her kids off to school in the morning and be there at the bus stop in the afternoon. A certified teacher and nurse, Leslie quickly became a valued colleague at Loker School and then at Happy Hollow after Loker closed in 2008. As a Happy Hollow teacher assistant, Leslie gets to change grades and classrooms regularly. And in every assignment she has been given, Leslie has demonstrated professional excellence, humility, and grace. In the last 15 years, every partnership with a teacher, a grade level, and a student has been a superb match. One experienced classroom teacher told me, "I don't have anything especially eloquent to say about Leslie, but I am compelled to let you know that she is the very best teaching assistant I have ever worked with." That is Leslie Bastarash. When I asked Leslie's colleagues for any specific stories or words to contribute to this recognition, I received paragraphs upon paragraphs that described a kind, compassionate, dedicated, smart, and funny colleague and friend. A teacher who was always kind to every student. Her specialty is the student who has a harder time in school. Socially, academically, emotionally, Leslie Bastarash consistently demonstrates patience and a commitment to understanding each child and understands the power that relationship has in getting kids to do hard things. She never gives up on a student or another teacher. One colleague described an interaction that she believed summed up the everyday specialness of Leslie Bastarash. I agree with this colleague. She wrote, "It was Friday afternoon, right after all the kindergarten students had been dismissed. Leslie had spent the day exercising incredible patience with her two challenging students. In addition to that responsibility, she had her eyes on all the other students. As usual, if one wasn't in the class, she would check in to make sure they were somewhere safe, in the bathroom, at the nurse's office. As an aside, she is fastidious about having a clipboard with all the student names and making sure they are safe and present on the playground and in the class. So after a day of caring for every child in that class, she wiped down all the tables, swept the floor, and as I left for the weekend, she very sincerely said to me, 'Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it.'" This colleague continues, "I had been in awe of her all day. She had been a superstar all week, and yet she made me feel like $1,000,000. And that is Miss B. That is Leslie Bastarash." I also received many stories from parents who described how a year with Miss B changed their child's life and their perspective on school for the better. One parent said, "I will always be so grateful to her for being kind to my child." Another said, "She was a true gift to my child and every child in that classroom." I was told of a particular student that Leslie assisted at Happy Hollow in grade 5. This student struggled with some very significant emotional challenges. When the student left Happy Hollow and went to the middle school, Miss B met her for lunch regularly to help the student adjust to her new school. That is Leslie Bastarash. Leslie also knows what it means to be a student. She plays the viola and started as an adult beginner. Miss B, who has played with the Sudbury Valley Horizons Orchestra, impressed her own teacher with her dedication and commitment. Her teacher told me that she admired Leslie because of it. When I asked Leslie if there was anything she wanted me to know as I prepared for her celebration, she told me that throughout the years she had worked at every grade level and appreciated the unique set of gifts and challenges that each grade brought. She also wanted me to know that she believed her children received an excellent education in the Wayland Public Schools. She said, and I quote, "I am grateful for all the phenomenal teachers that had a hand in shaping my children's educational path." Well, thank you, Leslie Bastarash, for being one of those phenomenal teachers you described, and for your contributions to Happy Hollow and the Wayland Public Schools. We will treasure your warmth, your positive energy, and your friendship. We wish you joy, health, and happiness as you spend time traveling with your family and having new adventures. Congratulations.
Finally, I would like to invite Mr. Brian Jones to the podium.
So I just want to say hi to Mike O'Connor and his wife Nan, his daughter Emma, and son Mike, who I believe are all watching via the live stream. Good afternoon, everybody. It is an honor and a privilege to stand before you today and honor an educator who truly inspires me, Mike O'Connor. I'm also proud to be standing alongside his longtime classroom mascot, Penguina, which I'm sure that many of you know well. When I think about Mike O'Connor's career in Wayland, the word grateful is the theme. In our time working together, Mike taught me so much about what it means to make a difference in the lives of students. The phrase time and place comes to mind immediately when I think about Mike, which is extremely effective when having discussions with third graders about expected behavior and being socially aware of one's surroundings. Time and place is a phrase that I use every day with children and is utilized frequently throughout the Locher building. It is a simple phrase that has such a powerful meaning. However, I would be remiss if I did not mention that it may not be very effective when speaking to one's spouse. I learned my lesson the hard way on October 17, 2014, shortly after I started working with Mike. So while I truly respect Mike's approach with third graders, I really wish he had given me more advance notice that it may not be as effective with my wife. Thank you very much, Mike. But that is jumping ahead, because Mike's path to Wayland and his excellence in teaching was not the traditional path. Mike attended a vocational high school and followed in his father's footsteps, working construction, carpentry, and as an excavator. But he began to reflect on whether that path was going to leave him fulfilled. He had always loved to learn, but recognized that his style of learning was different from most, which was one of his greatest strengths as a teacher. Debbie Bears, the base director at the time and former principal of Claypit Hill, made the very wise decision to hire him. Sounds like Debbie made a lot of good decisions today. Once Mike started working at Base in 1995, he became truly interested in teaching. Mary Sterling, the principal of Locher at the time, noticed and hired him to begin his classroom teaching career in Wayland during the fall of 1997. Mike taught third grade at Locher, then moved to Happy Hollow and taught fifth grade, and in 2014, returned to Locher to teach third grade. As Locher transitioned from a kindergarten to an elementary school in 2014, Mike played a leadership role from day one with Team Locher. He made important connections with his colleagues, who viewed him as a role model and trusted colleague. Beyond teaching at Locher and Happy Hollow, Mike also took a group of Wayland High School students on a 7-week trip to Beijing, China, as part of Wayland's Chinese exchange program during the spring of 2018, and helping them learn about living in another country and discovering Chinese culture. Mike is that teacher that children often refer to as their favorite of all time. There is a project at Wayland High School where students write letters to educators who made a profound impact on their development. Well, Mike's mailbox was annually filled with letters, and each year he was asked to speak at the high school on their career day. As a teacher, Mike understood that learning is multifaceted, embraced student curiosity, and nurtured in a way that brought out the best in each child. And what the children remember about Mr. O'Connor is that he connected with each of them in a meaningful way and found unique ways for them to demonstrate their knowledge. His Drop Everything and Create days, invention conventions, author teas, paper football tournaments, and penny hockey games were incredible events that children often list as their favorite days in elementary school. He even led a project where third grade students created wooden book bins by hammering nails into wood to develop storage for their books. Yes, third graders were hammering nails at school. I have to admit, this made me very nervous the first time I heard about this activity, but I was so impressed with how Mike structured it in a safe way. For all the years that he led this project, I'm very pleased to report that there were no student injuries. Mike also had a wonderful sense of humor. He was quite the jokester. I won't go into all the details, but I would be remiss if I didn't share that he did have a fart machine, which he would strategically place in the classrooms of other teachers on April Fool's Day, and send his students into their room with a remote control. Needless to say, hilarity would ensue along with the confusion on the other teacher's part, and everyone would have a good laugh together. I still recall Pam Pinchton and Rosemary Fury still wondering what was happening, and their students thinking that they were making this obnoxious noise. In addition, on April Fool's Day, he also had a habit for switching furniture around and seeing how long it would take teachers to realize it. Speaking of a sense of humor, Mike also thought that he was Tom Brady at recess. I have to admit that he was pretty good as a quarterback against the third graders, but there were times that interceptions happened. Sorry, Mike, there were. So I think Mike was more at a Drew Bledsoe level, not quite at a Tom Brady or even Eli Manning level, but still pretty good. I will admit that we will miss Mike with the tug of war on field day. We never had to worry about potentially losing to the fifth graders with Mike on our team. But without him this year, the fifth graders are going to be tough to beat. For those that know Mike well, you also know that he's an avid cyclist who would regularly go on long bike rides, often with his colleague from Happy Hollow, Conrad Geese. A 20-mile bike ride to him is like a walk in the park. And then there were the important phrases that he consistently used, which helped not only his students, but the adults reflect on life. Nice guys don't finish last, they're simply running a different race. Live in such a way that if anyone spoke badly of you, no one would believe it. Wag more, bark less. Peace and love. Each of these phrases really fostered all of us being more reflective and truly make so much sense. I've experienced and observed so many aha moments from these phrases with children and adults. Mike, you really excel in modeling common sense. Imagine if the world all had common sense. Your messages carry such weight with the students, such as asking your third grade colleague, Rosemary Fury, to play football with the boys at recess to encourage girls to play. And when she did, the participation by the girls skyrocketed. With his colleagues, he would often say, use or lose when sharing ideas or resources. This showed his colleagues that he was trying to be helpful, but would not pressure or try to force someone to do something that they may not have wanted to do. Use or lose is now truly an expression that I hear or read daily at Loker and sends a wonderful collaborative message. Also, Mike is someone who liked to wear plaid. And so I just want to take this moment because the Loker community wore plaid today. So anyone wearing a plaid shirt, can you stand up? So can you turn around and face the camera back there and wave to Mike? Still means so much to all of his colleagues. And I always remember the acronym THINK that you consistently reference with the students to get them to stop and think before they spoke in supporting their social emotional growth and ask themselves the following questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? So I haven't mentioned the words strength and courage yet. However, I cannot accurately describe Mike O'Connor without speaking about both words. 2.5 years ago, Mike had what the doctors thought was a minor stroke. Several months later, it was determined that what was thought to be a minor stroke was actually an aggressive form of brain cancer. Since this diagnosis, Mike has undergone 3 brain surgeries and walked out of the hospital each time only days after the surgeries. He has also endured more than 2 years of chemotherapy. Even after all he's been through, Mike is still teaching. I still get emails from him about meaningful project ideas for students, such as the Home Energy Challenge. And the local faculty receives encouraging messages about how teaching really does matter, and a reminder to laugh, even when we were in the most challenging days of our remote and hybrid learning and teaching. In addition, anyone who's following him on the Caring Bridge website, where he provides updates on his health, know that he ends every message with an uplift in helping people see the beauty in the world. Seriously, who does that? Mike O'Connor does. As I conclude this speech, I want you to know, Mike, that you're my educational hero. There is not a day that goes by where I do not think of you, the enormous impact that you've had on children, and the many lessons that I've learned from you. You often talked about planting seeds and how your teaching was creating lessons for children about kindness and real-life connections to the curriculum. You understand the importance of patience and that children will grow and develop when they're ready with this very important knowledge. Well, thank you for watering those seeds so well over the years, as children are emerging into thoughtful, kind, and hardworking teenagers and adults because of this message of hope. I do have one request for you, and I expect to get this by the end of the week. I miss walking to Loker School each morning and hearing the rock and roll music that you were blasting. Can you please send us your playlist? We've all been asking about it, but somehow we never get it. That music was always so motivating each morning and helped us all focus on the day ahead. Mike, congratulations on your retirement. You have certainly earned it, and hope that you get to create many more experiences with your wife, Nan, and your children, Mike and Emma. By the way, Emma just graduated from American University earlier this month, and Mike was a proud dad sending pictures of this shining moment to his colleagues. Way to go, Emma. Mike, you will always be an important part of Loker Elementary and the Wayland Public Schools. The impact you had on me as both an educator and a person will carry on with me forever. But I cannot end this speech without hearing from your students, as you are such a relationship-focused educator with them. I think it is best that they conclude the celebration of your amazing and inspiring career. He made learning fun. He always said, time and place. I will never forget that. He actually made good jokes and made us all laugh. Other teachers could learn from him. He was better than Mr. Jones at paper football. Now, this is not a student quote. Let me be clear. I did not say that all the student comments were accurate. He always played sports with us at recess and was a good quarterback. He had a pink lunchbox, which taught us that gender is not a color. It was so cool making water bottle holders. He was part teacher, part DJ. Drop everything and create days ruled. What an incredible career you've had, Mike. I hope that you are truly proud of all that you have accomplished. Peace and love.
We will now begin recognizing those staff members who have achieved various milestones in their years of service in Wayland. Honorees, when I call your name, please come up on stage to receive your certificate or gift. And if you could please then remain on stage, we will take a moment to recognize all of you as a group. Principals, if I could ask you to please come up on stage again and hand out our certificates and gifts. We will begin by recognizing those Wayland staff members with 10 years of service in the district. Please feel free to applaud as each staff member's name is read, and then we will recognize them all as a group. So again, you're going to come up, get your certificate or gift, and then stay here on stage. Those members are Amanda Ruxtalis, Dennis Doherty, Becky Lipo, Glikaria Akravoulis, Lenore Daly, Bill Froberg, Anne-Marie Hayes, Fred Lehman, Melissa McDonald, Jennifer McGuinn, Rebecca Pagano, Jennifer Reed, Jen Soha, Eric Wolven, and Eric, we're going to let you stay in your seat right there, per your petition, and Luis Ramos. Could we please have a round of applause for all of our staff members for 10 years of service? We will now recognize those Wayland staff members with 15 years of service in the district. Those staff members are Tran Aronian, John Barry, Ruth Berman, Julie Cote, Carolyn Crary, Mercedes Pregale, Ann Frado, Toshi Lamb, Mark Lydell, Chitra Mills, Ken Rideout, Michael Rossini, Megan Smith, Ilana Weiner, Sid Tiska, and John Malawuski. If we could please have a big round of applause for all of our staff members for 15 years of service. We will now recognize those Wayland staff members with 20 years of service in the district. And those staff members are Mary Barber, Sean Chase, Teresa Krieber, Carrie Dermicus, Robin Fitch, and Zach Vonnegut. If we could please have a round of applause for all of our staff members with 20 years of service. We will now recognize those Wayland staff members with 25 years of service in the district, and they are Deborah Aaron, Peggy Amendola, Suzanne Bernstein, Rachel Carroll, Deborah Dowd, Kevin Farley, Gwen Golden, Matthew McCormick, James Mullane, Mike O'Connor, Jennifer Rice, and Sean Slavin. We could have a round of applause for all of our 25-year veterans. And finally, we have 9 staff members who have served in Wayland for 30 years. If you do the math, that's two. You can applaud away. That bought me a little time to do the math, so thank you for that. 270 years of combined work in Wayland Public Schools, which is absolutely astonishing and humbling. Please join me in recognizing Lynette Biggs, Kathy Hodge, Lorraine Horgan, Kristen Murphy, Beth Santamena, Linda Stockwood, Rosemarie Teddy, Kristen Trump, and Dee Dee Bergeron. They look pretty young for 270 years, right? Let's have a round of applause for all of our veterans for 30 years. the program, we also recognize staff members who have achieved special milestones this year. If you haven't already read through that list, please do. There are some pretty impressive accomplishments. I want to thank all of you for all your hard work and dedication this year, with a special nod to our retirees. It is a privilege to serve with you, even if I've only been here for a humble 4 years at this point. Best wishes to all of you as we move into our final month of the school year. I want to say an especially big thank you to Melissa Ricci, who did all of the behind-the-scenes work to make this event happen. As part of that work, we have refreshments set up in the commons area outside the auditorium, so I would encourage you to stick around and have a bite to eat. As we head out, could we please have one last round of applause for all our honorees, and particularly our retirees. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.